Hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year, y'all. Happy first Monday of 2021. Excited to be here with you. I have so much to pour into you. And so, with that said, sorry, I have my thing set up some other. Oh, here it is comments. With that said, those of you that this is your first time with me, let me introduce myself. My name is Nicole Roberts Jones, and I am the Bankroll Your Brains expert. What I do extraordinarily well is I help women create multiple streams of income from what you already know. That's who I be, that's what I do. And I'm excited about what I'm launching with you all tonight. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to see that I'm here. Those of you that have done this with me before, you know how I like to start with roll call. So come on in, tell me name and where you're joining from. I'm gonna give people a few minutes to join us. If you see me looking over here, I'm looking on my Facebook page so I can see your comments as you're coming in. So tell me name and where you're joining from. Come on in. Hey, Levon, Happy New Year. I see you. Tell everybody where you're joining from tonight. Give people a few minutes to see that we are live. Let me make sure all my technology is working as you guys are coming in. Come on in and tell me hello, hello. Don't let me just be talking to myself. I have so much yummy content to give you, and I just want to give everybody an opportunity to come on in as I'm pulling up my comments. And even if you watch the replay, I still want you to tell me name and where you're joining me from, all right? Come on in, come on in. All right. Trying to get all my stuff together over here. Come on in, y'all. Marilyn in the house. Yes. Who else is here? I see there's more than Levon here, y'all. So at least tell me hi. I'm going to pour into you for the next 40 minutes or so. Let's see if I can get it down to 40 minutes. I'm opening up my comment section. All right. So with that, happy New Year. Hey, Roslyn in New York. I see you. I love when I see my clients here in the house. And Thesia, am I saying your name right? Houston, H-Town. My family's from Galveston, so I know all about H-Town. Most of my cousins live in Houston now. But anyway, let me not get easily distracted. So y'all keep coming in telling me hello. So welcome to our first Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays. So first, let me just tell you, I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this, the theme, and give you context to the theme, tell you the journey that God put on my spirit for us for this year. Hey, Yolanda in Ohio. Can't wait to talk to you tomorrow, Yolanda. And so with all of that said, I might be mixing up my Yolandas. I have a client named Yolanda I'm starting with tomorrow. So listen. With that said, y'all, I hope to be here. So our usual Mondays would be about 30 minutes, but today is going to be longer because I need to give you context to our journey. So first, let me tell you, I'm calling this Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays because many of you know that I have a podcast called Amplify Your Brilliance. Hey, fellow Red Tie. Hey, Kelly. So Red Tie is my high school for those of you that are like, what are they talking about? Yeah, we wore red ties. I went to Catholic school. Anyway, so my podcast that I do on Wednesdays is called Amplify Your Brilliance. Okay. So let me even tell you why I call both that on Wednesday and this on Mondays. Well, let me tell you why I'm doing both, and then I'll tell you why I even titled it Amplify Your Brilliance. So number one, these conversations that I'm going to have with you on Mondays is in alignment with what I call be, do, have formula. All my clients have heard this because so many people focus on have. I want to have this. I want to have this. I want to have this. What do I need to do to have it? But if you don't add your being in it, see, your business, your anything you do will never outgrow you, your mindset, your mental zip code. And so on Mondays, I'm going to give you strategy to make sure your being is in alignment for what God is doing in your life, not even for what you want. Because listen, as at the end of every year, I pray and ask God my direction for 2021. And what God poured into me is that 2021 is our, not just mine, our, all of us. It's our for such a time as this moment. I'm going to explain that in a minute. Okay. So, to give you context to our journey over the year, and I say year, yes, every Monday I'll be here with you. If for some reason I can't be here on a Monday because I'm traveling, and that won't be no time soon, but when I get back to the speaking and all that stuff, I'll let you guys know ahead of time. But every Monday, 7 p.m., I'll be here. So amplify your brilliance. So I want you guys to get this. So amplify, look this up so I could talk with some sense, means, according to Webster's dictionary, to expand by the use of closer analysis, to make larger or greater, to increase the strength or amount of. So that's amplifying, and we're amplifying your brilliance. Your brilliance is great brightness, luster. But listen, your brilliance is your light. So there's a Bible verse. You're gonna see me all over the place. I got paper and books. The book here is the Bible. This is, by the way, this is my spirit-filled New King James Bible. So Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light so shine before men," and I always say and women, "that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." See, your brilliance is that light that got placed in you. It's your gifts and talents. It's the thing that you do oh so well. So those of you, whether you're a client of mine or you've been watching me for years, you know that what my purpose is in this thing called life is to help you bankroll your brilliance. That's what God put me on this earth to do. So my goal on our Mondays is to amplify your brilliance, because you can't bankroll what you can't amplify. Come on, somebody, right? And so, literally, what I'm going to pour into you every single Monday is in alignment with that. And so, the catalyst, the woman that's going to lead our journey is Esther. Now, those of you that have been around me, you know I love me some Esther. So, probably over 11 years ago, 12 maybe, God really led me on a journey to study Esther. And so, out of that, I've learned so much, not just about Esther, but about my own self. And so, over the course of this next year, I'm going to every week give you another layer to who she be. Hey, Sarita in Memphis, I love my clients show up. I'm going to give you another layer to who she be. I'm going to dive deeper into her journey, which will give us great context to ours. But here's what I want you to understand ultimately. 2020 was a hard year. 2020 was difficult. 2020 was, listen, we started with 2020 vision this time last year. Can't nobody see what was coming though, right? But at the same time, here's what I do believe God did. He sat us all the way down so we can get our vision right. So I'm not talking about people, I know a number of people have lost people in COVID. I'm sorry for your loss. I've lost people too. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those of us that took the time and got clear that God is intentional and God has great intention for all of us, each of us. And if you took the time over the last year and got intentional and got your vision right. So even though 2020 vision, which is what so many people said that this last year was about. Hey y'all, I see more people joining. Hello, hello. I see, listen. And we began to say, well, this ain't 2020 vision. Yes, it was. It was an opportunity for us. I think God sat us all the way down. I know for me, I was able to really get intentional with some of the things I needed to do in my business. I got really intentional about some of the things I needed to do around my dang on house. Now, I didn't get intentional about all the food I was eating. That's a whole nother conversation. But now I'm intentional with my trainer to lose all this COVID weight. But now we've got to really realize that everything we went through in this last year was for us to get to our first such a time as this moment. So before I start pouring into you, because I got notes just for week one. Before I start that, let me give you an overview so you understand who Esther is. I don't know why my comments are not coming up over here. Hold on, y'all. Let me see what's going on with my comments. It's important to me that I can see. So my iPad is right here. Ooh, oh, there they are. Hey, Paulette and Francille. I said hi to Sarita. Hey, Kelly and these little girl. I know I said your name wrong, but anyway. So my comments over here, so I can see people's names. I can't. Look. I'm 51. I can't see that far. I have to go like this to see people's names on my computer. So I need to have it right here next to me. Vallejo in the house. Hey, Paulette. So with that said, let me give you who Esther is. Now you can read the entire book of Esther. I'm going to encourage you to do that. I'm going to pull back layers throughout our time together. I'm also going to add to it. Okay. So quick, this is not the cliff note. I'm going to say this is the Nicole note version of the Esther story real quick. Okay. So Esther was an orphan who became queen. I always like to say, kind of like how a little black girl from South Side of Chicago could become the first lady of the United States. Hello, right? So back in these days, a Jew could never become queen. So not only was she an orphan, but she was a Jew. Okay. So back then in the kingdom, the king had a queen. And to make an even longer story short with that, he was throwing a party and he was showing out in front of his boys. I told you this is the Nicole version, all right? So he was showing out in front of his boys and asked his wife to do something. I can't remember what he asked her to do. And she was like, I ain't doing that. And so he got rid of her. He just dismissed her just because she wouldn't do it, right? And so what happened in that moment is the king then put out auditions, kind of like The Bachelor, looking for his new bride throughout all the land. And Mordecai, Esther's, I can't remember if it's her uncle or her cousin. I meant to look this up before I started and I forgot. He worked, first of all, he became her caregiver when her parents died. That's why she was an orphan. It doesn't say what happened to her parents, why her parents died, but her parents she was an orphan. Okay. So if that wasn't already disheartening, can you imagine if you were young and you lost both your parents? Okay. So with that said, Mordecai works in the palace. He hears about the fact that the king is looking for a queen. He's like, Esther, girl, you got to go. Only problem is she's a Jew. Her name was Hadassah. So Mordecai changed her name from Hadassah to Esther. The thing that's so interesting, and we'll talk about this through our time together, is there are so many times that people's names have been changed in the Bible. Abram became Abraham. I can go, Saul became Paul. Interesting, right? How you have to shift. And it's really, there's a Bible verse, I think it's Romans 12:2. I didn't write this down because I didn't know I was going to say this. It says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So I believe the shifting of names that happens a lot in the Bible is transforming and renewing your mind and really renewing who you be. Sometimes you have to shift what you see in order to be. You guys get that? And so that's the first lesson. There's a lot in Esther. Okay. So he changed her name to Esther so that they wouldn't know she was Jewish. So Esther goes to the palace. Now, it's not a quick thing like we see the bachelors over in the season. It was months and years of preparation before. And listen, all the women only got one night with the king, like they got one visit. So on the Bachelor, they get all these visits and all these dates. One. But the thing that's interesting with Esther is Esther did not try to conform. Even though she changed her name, what made her stand out was who she already was. I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes. And so she stood out from all the rest and she became queen. So you think it's over, but it's not. So then Esther becomes queen. This is me telling you the quick story, right? Esther becomes queen and she finds out, actually, she doesn't find out, Mordecai overhears in the palace that the king's right hand man, his homeboy, Haman, has this plot to kill all the Jews. Only problem is the king does not realize his wife is a Jew. So what happens is Mordecai goes to Esther, and this is out of Esther. Ooh, I'm about to lose my place for some. I'm going to read to y'all later. So this is out of Esther, the 4th chapter. This is my favorite part of the whole story. So the whole book is not that long. And by the way, there are very few women like Esther, Ruth. I think it's only 2. I think there might be one more book named after a woman in the Bible. So she's significant. Okay. So Esther 4:14, Mordecai says to Esther, when he finds out, he goes to tell her, and he says, for if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. Yet, who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Who knows whether you went through everything you went through? Who knows whether you got elected queen? But for such a time as this. Remember, I said this is your for such a time as this year. So everything we have gone through up until this point, all the good and the bad, the things that make you brilliant and the things that make you feel like you're in breakdown. Because even the breakdown moments, I don't know about you, but I learned some great lessons in my breakdown. If you allow them to, even the bad breakups, I learned some great lessons. And all the things God uses, all things work together for the good, not some things, right? So Esther had a decision to make. Does she say yes and save her people? And she could potentially die because keep in mind, the king does not know that he's married to a Jew. He could kill her. Or does she stand in the gap for her people? What does Esther say back to him? This is Esther 4:16. She says, go gather all the Jews who are present in Shushan and fast for me. Neither eat or drink for 3 days or nights. My maids and I will fast likewise. And so I will go to the king, which is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. So that's just part of the story of Esther. So to make a long story short, Esther does the fasting. She prays. She holds a feast for her husband, a banquet. Doesn't tell him why. I just want to throw a party for you, baby. He's like, okay, and does the first party. And because she's fasted and prayed, again, this is being, y'all, she can sit with what God is pouring into her as the direction. I call God our GPS, our God placement system. You can't get in alignment. You can get your assignment if you're not in alignment with God. And so because she fasted and prayed, all her homegirls around her fasted and prayed, she got direction. And the direction was to throw a party. At the end of the party, she didn't know what to do. I guess the next direction came, throw another party. So she threw another party. Then at the end of that party, now I don't believe she was doing this out of fear, you guys. Because fear, we want to be comfortable. We'll do things that are comfortable. Like I posted this a couple of weeks ago in social media. That sometimes I say I'm praying about something because prayer is more comfortable than me actually taking action. So I don't think well, prayer is me being scared and I want to take the action. Because sometimes, most times, when God is calling you to something bigger, it's going to be scary. So to make a long story short, she has a third party. At the end of the third party, she now knows it's time to tell her husband. So she tells him, I'm telling the story quick, y'all. And her husband decides to kill Haman and not her and saves all her people. So Esther has so much that she can give to us that really gives us great insight, context, gives us great uh, tutoring, gives us great mentorship, gives us great direction for all that we are purpose of doing this thing called life. So throughout the year, I'm going to talk about Esther. I'm going to use different pieces of her story. And so tonight is no different. So tonight I am starting week 1 of this journey with you for such a time as this moment. And so our conversation for tonight, for week 1, is when preparation meets opportunity. When preparation meets opportunity. Sarita said she got directions. Yes, Esther was, and cut off. I'll see that in a second. So when preparation meets opportunity. So here's what I want you guys to get. There are so many people, if you think about anybody you greatly admire and this thing called life, things didn't just happen. It was their preparation meeting opportunity. People like Rosa Parks. See, when Rosa Parks sat on that bus, she was tired. But what people don't realize is that Rosa Parks had been working in the NAACP office for years. She had been around all of the things that had been happening. She was prepared for that moment. She knew exactly what to do because she'd been around it. Barack Obama, listen, the reason why I know he run president, well, of course he was great and he was phenomenal and he should have won, but he had been organizing in community. So his campaign was like nobody else's because he was a community organizer. Preparation meaning opportunity. Do I need to go on and on? So I can give you other examples. And so there are 3 things I want you guys to get that really will help you as you propel into your goals, your desires for 2021. First of all, what do you really want out of this year? What I do is I always sit in quiet contemplation at the end of the year, asking God direction. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? And so this came out of that. But even beyond that, as you begin to get direction, and you're going to see me look down in my notes, right? You got to know this. You've got to look at what will you do with what you have. God will never give you direction with something that you don't have. So it's always going to be based on your gift or some variation of it. And what you've got to do is be willing to either grow the gift, get the help you need, which is Esther's given a great example of that. Y'all with me? Right? So to give you even more context to what will you do with what you have, I'm going to read um, the parable of the talents. Now I'm not going to read all of it for sake of time, right? Well, maybe I will. What time is it? Maybe I'll read all of it. It's 7 to 18, so I'll read it really quickly. For the kingdom, this is Matthew, by the way, 25:14 through 30. I'm gonna read it quickly. Okay. This will give you great context of what I mean by what are you doing with what you have. Okay. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another he gave 2, and to another he gave 1 talent. It's interesting. Talent is money, but it's interesting. I'm talking about gifts and talents, and this is called the parable of the talents. No, no coincidence, right? Then he immediately he went on a journey. Then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5. So he doubled what he had, right? Likewise, he who had received 2 talents made 2 more. So he doubled what he had. But he who received 1 dug it in the ground and hid the Lord's money. After a time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with them. So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I've given you 5 more talents. Mhm. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You are faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. God, this is so funny. This writing is so little, y'all. He also who had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, you delivered me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 more besides them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many. How many times have you heard that Bible verse? You've been faithful over a few things. I'll make you ruler over many, right? Enter into the joy of your Lord. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you had to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And I was afraid and went and hid your talent. Notice he said, I was afraid and went and hid it. Hello, right? Lost my place. I was afraid and hid it in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. But his Lord answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant. You knew what that I reap where I have not, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. Therefore, take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. But for him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And I don't believe it's who doesn't have. I believe it's he who does nothing with what he has. So the thing that's interesting when we look at Esther is Esther didn't try to be anything but who she was, which is how she became queen. She was auditioning in front of thousands of women. And so what Esther did was she used who she already was. I want you guys to get this. And so she got clear, uncompromising. Same with Rosa Parks, same with Barack. I could go on and on, right? And so literally in the principle of the talents, it says that, and I quote, where is it? He called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. He chose those 3 to give. And he gave one 5, he gave one 2, he gave one 1. Why do you think he gave the first one 5? He knew he was going to double it. He knew the second one was going to double it. He knew the last one probably wasn't going to do anything with it, but he was willing to give him an opportunity. And so the next thing I want you to get when it comes to Esther is God gives all of us free will. He's not going to make us do anything with the gifts he's given us. He's just not. And so it's up to us to choose, right? It's really an invitation to responsibility because the gift inside of you is someone else's answer. So listen, had Esther not been herself and did and multiplied her own gift and became queen, listen and look at her story and how she stood in the gap for her people because she was willing to multiply her gift. She was willing to do what it took, stand in the gap for her people and be the answer. And that's all God asked each of us to do is what will you do with what you have? And that's my first question to you the first week of 2021. What do you do? What are you going to do with what you have? Or will you make an excuse? Well, I'm going to wait till my son graduates from college. I'm going to wait. All excuses of why you can't do this thing that you have rumbling inside of you now, why you can't grow your business, why you can't start it even, or why now is not your time. It's never going to be convenient, which is my second point. You got to come out of your comfort zone. When Mordecai went to Esther, and said, listen, who knows whether you came here or not for such a time as this. She could have said, listen, I'm going to sit over here. I'm not dealing with that. I'm going to keep myself safe. Y'all deal with that. He don't even know I'm a Jew. She could have chose the easy path. And see, if you've been around me, you've heard me say your comfort and your conviction can never coexist. And so for Esther in that moment, she chose her conviction over what would be comfortable. And you have that same opportunity. Again, God gives you gifts. He gives you talents, just like in this story. What will you do with what you have? Will you be responsible for it? And will you grow it? Or will you only do what's comfortable? Will you only sit in comfort? Sorry, I need to feel myself getting ready to choke. And so the interesting part is when I have these kind of conversations with some of my clients and I talk about how you can move, I call it pivoting, how you have power in your pivot and how you shift. The interesting thing that I've seen happen in my own life, and many of you, some of you have not heard my story. So I've been doing this 27 years. When I first got the tap, to come out of my comfort. I already had a successful career. Matter of fact, I had the career I dreamed of ever since I was a little girl. I was working in the entertainment industry. It was a job I had always wanted. I got my college degree in it. I had done every internship in it. And here I was after college. I had my dream job. So, my first job, I worked for Viacom's largest cable network. We had an outreach to 89 million homes on a weekly basis. Now, from there, I worked in a casting position for the number one TV show on Fox. And then from there, I worked with an entertainment group, and what we produced generated over $12.6 billion a year. And I was doing that. Plus, y'all know, if you know me like I think you know me, those of you that really know me, I was going to all the hot Hollywood parties, all of them. Bumping elbows with all the stars. So I was living a dream. But somewhere along the way, it became my nightmare. Now, don't get me wrong, Hollywood was great. I loved every minute of it. But for some reason, I felt like something was missing. I felt like I felt off, and I couldn't understand how I could feel like this when I was doing a job that I absolutely loved. And it was a job I had dreamed of ever since I was little. So every time I tried to talk to one of my girlfriends about what I was feeling, they would say things like, "Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind?" But I couldn't deny what I was feeling inside my soul. See, what I know now is that what God was calling me was into my opportunity of more. And it's not that where I wasn't supposed to be there. I was. I learned so much. I began to grow my gift. But as that was complete, see, for some of you, the job you currently have is just done. You're done with that role. And at that time, God was showing me I was done. I didn't, only thing is, I didn't know that. At the time, I was 23 years old. I didn't understand what I was feeling. So, in the middle of me feeling dazed and confused, one of my good girlfriends invited me to go to a lock in at our church. And as I stood in that church that night and started working with young women, as their eyes lit up, my heart lit up. And I said, "Oh my God, this is the thing I'm supposed to do." But there was no paycheck doing this. And so I had a decision to make. In one direction was the only way anybody would ever recognize me except me. And this direction was this thing that was lighting up my soul, which, by the way, I didn't even know what to call it because this was 1993 and I didn't know what a coach was. And so, to make a long story short, I said yes to do this thing and was rumbling inside my soul. And what I realize now is that what God was doing was matriculating me into my next level. And it's the same way that we matriculate through high school, through the school system. You know, you start in kindergarten, you go to first grade, then you go to second grade, you go to third grade, you go to junior high, you go to high school. See, only the only difference is, yes, we have to leave our comfort zone. So I remember leaving in the eighth grade. My favorite teacher, Miss Meg Morris, and she's my friend on social media, so she might see this. My favorite teacher. I had to leave the comfort of, I mean, she treated us like family. I'll never forget my last day of the eighth grade. I did not want to leave my junior high school to go to high school. I just didn't. Because of, and even my friends from elementary, we're still friends. I had 13 people in my grade class, so we were close. So it was not comfortable. Yet I knew I couldn't stay there. And so for me, making the shift from entertainment to doing this thing now I know is coaching. I didn't know what it was called back then. It was not an easy transition, which is one of the reasons why I coach women and help do that because it wasn't easy. But in addition to that, what I didn't know then is it was just the next level of my gift. So in entertainment, I worked in talent management and casting. What do I do now? Talent management and casting. I just do it in the context of helping people grow their businesses around it. Why am I telling you all of this when we're talking about Esther? Because I had to be responsible for my gift. I could have sat in comfort and stayed in entertainment, just like Esther could have sat in comfort and stayed in the palace and didn't tell a soul that she was a Jew. And everybody's experience is going to be different. So, whatever that is for you, I am here as your sister friend to hold the space for you so that you don't have to come out of comfort alone in 2021. 2020 was uncomfortable on purpose. God was intentional. What will you do with that uncomfortable place? How did you choose to grow? And if you didn't do it then, it's okay. How will you do it now? What will you do that will be different this year so you get something different at the end of this year? Mhm. And then the last thing, well, I got a couple things. Last couple things I want to share with you that Esther's story tells us is nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. When I look at my own journey, so of course, when I was leaving entertainment, I did not realize that I'd be still doing casting and talent management in some way, because that is really what I do in my business. But I'll tell you, I've had the opportunity to work with some celebrities, and I've had full circle moments as I work with them because I've already worked in entertainment. Nothing is wasted. Nothing. Again, I said this a few minutes ago. When Rosa Parks sat on that bus that day, exhausted, tired, she didn't know she was going to say, "No, I'm not getting up." But her working at the NAACP allowed her to know strategically what she should do in that moment. Nothing's wasted. Another example, Oprah Winfrey. Oprah did not know she was going to get fired from her first TV job, but she knew she was meant to stay. And look at where she is now because she didn't give up. She stayed in uncomfortable. I hope y'all are getting something out of this. But I really need you to understand nothing is wasted. Look, God gives us all free will. The question again is, what will you do with what you have? The last thing is, the last point I'm going to make tonight is it's not going to be easy. It's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you something. So even if I go and plant a garden, I live in Boston, so I can't do this time of year. But even if I go and plant a garden, put the seed in the ground and put the dirt over it, it's gonna cost me time because I got to go out there and water it and water it and water it and water it and nurture that seed until it grows. Doesn't grow overnight. If I want a phenomenal marriage, I've got to nurture that marriage. It's you sow, or excuse me, you reap or you sow. Same principle of the talents. So if you give nothing to your gift, you'll get nothing from your gift. If you don't pour into you, you get nothing out of you. So as we have these times together, I'm going to focus on your being. Of course, those of you that are around me with me, I can't help but talk about what you're doing. But my goal for you, my ultimate goal for you is to really understand your being. I'm looking at what time it is because I have a coaching group. Okay. I want to make sure that you understand your being so you don't leave yourself behind because you can work on your business and work on your business and work on your business and look up and you've left yourself behind and you wonder why it's not working. You wonder why your husband is done, your kids don't like you, and you wonder why you're 20 pounds overweight because you've left yourself behind. So every week, I'm going to invite you to sit in reflection to the conversation I have with you for that week. So I'm not going to give you action steps to take. I'm going to give you a journal. So this journal is going to be in my Facebook group. So if you're not a member of my Facebook group, join. It's called the Women of Brilliance Tribe. But how you go there is thebrilliancetribe.com. You can put that in your web browser, thebrilliancetribe.com, and listen. Sorry, fellas, this is for the ladies. Number one. Number two, you have to answer the questions. My team will not let you in the group if you don't answer the questions. Why? Because we keep the group sacred. About to choke again. We really keep the group sacred. And so you've got to answer the questions. And so for this week, you're going to look at where preparation meets opportunity because you never want opportunity is going to come. You never know. And you've got to be ready when it comes. I've gotten phone calls literally. I've gotten phone calls where I have 20 minutes to get ready for an interview. I've gotten phone calls. I got a phone call on my cell phone from a bishop of a huge denomination. And I was like, "Ugh." And I had, listen, if I wasn't ready and she asked me to speak at her conference that week, you got to stay ready. You never know. I couldn't say, well, let me think about it because she would have been on to the next speaker. I've had opportunities to sit at tables with people that I could never imagine. And I'm not saying that in a bragging way, but what I am saying is because I'm so committed to my gift and I'm always growing my gift that when opportunity comes, I'm ready. My question too is, will you be ready? This is your year. For such a time as this, the opportunity is on its way to you now. Will you do what it takes to get ready for it? Stop making excuses. Some of you know you need to be working with a coach. Hire that coach. Some of you guys know you need to be working with a trainer. Like me, I hired a new trainer because my other trainer kept giving me, listen, my clients laugh at me, but my other trainer kept fighting me over drinking wine. Let me explain to you. Now, I know I need to not drink wine every day like I was doing, telling on my own self, right? I get that. But don't tell me I can't never drink wine. Boop, fired. Found one that told me I could at least drink wine once a week. Yes. Because come on now. I know myself. I'm not going to just quit cold turkey. That ain't real. By the way, those of you that are just meet me, I'm transparent. Okay. So again, I will drop this in my Facebook group. It's the Women of Brilliance Tribe, and it's a PDF. So every week we'll add on to it. So listen, the first part of this gives you an overview, gives you all the themes for the year that I'll be walking through. And then every week I'm going to give you a weekly reflection, Bible verses and things to reflect on. So what I'm going to ask you to do is for the week, I want you to sit with the reflection I'm giving you for the week. Give yourself 10 to 15 minutes every day, 10 to 15 minutes every day. When you do that, and you sit with what's resonating with your soul. The thing that I love is I was watching John Legend a couple of years ago, And he was sharing how writing is cathartic. And when he writes a lot of his songs, things come out of him that he doesn't even know that are there. So I'm going to recommend you get a journal. I meant to bring my journal over here. I think it's right here. Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can grab it. Yep. So here's my journal, right? All you need is a book with blank pages in it, right? You'll see my writing, right? And so, literally, what I want you to do is journal. The reason I didn't put lines in this is because depending on how much you get, how much you pour into you, is what will come back to you. So me just putting lines on it, one sheet of paper wasn't gonna be enough. I was gonna try to do that, but I was like, one sheet of paper is not gonna be enough. So you can get a journal. Like I got this one on Amazon. I think it was $15. I bought it a couple. I bought it in December because I already started. See, I already started my journaling. So literally, yes, I put pictures in my journal too. You just saw a picture in there. So I want to invite you to spend some time with you. And then those of you that go over to the brilliancetribe.com once a month, I'm going to do a Q&A session. So whatever comes up for you in that month, I want to make sure I'm going to post what are your questions for the month so I can just answer your questions. I'll do that in my Facebook group. And listen, the reason I'm doing that is because some of you guys are working a full-time job. And in the public sector, you might not talk on in the public place, but in my private group, you can and you feel more safe. And I get that. And so that is why every Monday at 7 p.m. I'll be here live. I'm going to pour into you, give you more and more strategy for such a time as this year. This week, our conversation is when preparation meets opportunity. I want you to get in alignment for your assignment. I want you to be ready when God comes and knock on your door, because if you don't answer, he will find somebody else's door to knock on. If you don't take that gift and multiply that gift inside of you and give God a return on his investment, then when you die and go meet God, see, when I die and go meet God, I want God to say, girl, you did it. Job well done. I'm proud of you. I don't want him to say, go back. You're not done yet. And I want the same for you. So with that said, does anybody have any questions? That's our conversation. I gave you an overview for Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays. Again, I'll be here every Monday at 7 p.m. EST. They'll usually be about 30 minutes. I'll give you our theme. I will always put our homework in the Women of Brilliance Tribe. Somebody type thebrilliancetribe.com in the comments for me. Thebrilliancetribe.com is where you'll go grab your journal. You'll get some overview this week, and then every week I'll add to it. Okay? So, any questions as I'm wrapping for tonight? Our first Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays. Again, in my goal, really helping to amplify the gifts and talents that are in you, giving you the being work so that you do have, because you need be and do to have it all, right? Thank you, Yolanda, thebrilliancetribe.com. And let me ask you guys to do me a favor. My goal in doing this every Monday is to bless as many women as I can. Because listen, God did not just create me or you with the gift. He gave all of us gifts. He put all of us here on assignment. So it's my assignment to hold the space and support you to get in alignment with your assignment. I keep saying that, but it keeps resonating with me. I know I feel like a corny rapper when I say it, but that is my calling, is to help you get in alignment with your assignment, to bankroll your brands, well, awaken to it, to amplify it, and bankroll your brands. That is really my assignment. And here's what I want you guys to know when I say bankroll your brilliance. For me, it's not about making money. It's about the meaning that happens in this thing called life when you make money. See, when you stand in the gap for the people that need you, just like Esther did, money comes effortlessly. But you've got to get clear and uncompromising. And so the work we're going to do this year, will help you do that. All right. So with that said, I don't see any questions coming through. So will you share this? There's a share button somewhere down at the bottom of the page. If there's some value that you got out of this, share, either tag people in the comments below or just share it to your tribe in Facebook. Because again, my goal, my calling is to bless as many women as I can. And so those of you that are in my Facebook group watching, come on to my public page, the NRJ Enterprises with NicoleRobertsJones.com. This is also streaming in my Facebook groups, right? In my Women of Brilliance Tribe Facebook group. So if you're in my group, you can't share it there. Or you can, but if your friends aren't in the group, they won't see it. So come on to my public page, NRJ Enterprises with Nicole Roberts Jones, and share from here. So with that, any questions, y'all? If you stay ready, you have to get ready. That's right, Yolanda. I don't know why I'm trying to look at it from there and I can't see. Trying to see if there's any comments before we wrap for the evening. That was our first Monday. Amplify Your Brilliance. Again, my goal in really holding this space so that you go after you abundantly above all, so that you go and do as God placed in my spirit. You go have your for such a time as this year. So every week I'll pour more and more. So, I didn't say this. So our theme for the first 4 weeks is a woman of strength and dignity. So I'll be talking to you from that. There are 7 overarching themes. You'll see this when you get your book. And so the first theme is strength and dignity, being a woman of strength and dignity. So I'll pour more into that next week. With that, have a phenomenal week, y'all. It's my honor and my privilege to pour into you. Please share with other women that you know need this message. And do me one last favor. In addition to sharing, in addition to going to grab the worksheet that I'll put in our group as soon as I hang up, do me one last favor and tell me the value you got out of today. Tell me the one thing you got out of what I shared with you today. Post it in our comments below. All right. So with that, I'll be back next Monday, 7 p.m. EST for Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays. Again, my name is Nicole Roberts Jones. It's been my honor to serve you. Bye, y'all.